Good Tuesday morning, and thank you for joining us here on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get to your headlines. A look from our nation's capital as senators return on day 14 of the government shutdown. The Senate is scheduled to vote around dinner time tonight, but it appears they remain deadlocked on key bills to reopen the government. And that means a shutdown could drag on and continue to cause problems across the country. One big concern here, airports. Audrey Russo's at MSP, where MEA weekend is about to kick off.
There's actually already a lot of people here at Terminal 2 behind me. You can see them kind of making their way through the TSA line, snaking their way up to go through security, get scanned. Now, 50,000 people are expected to make their way through the airport tomorrow for the start of MEA weekend, and then 52,000 are expected on Thursday. Now, airport officials tell us that they're working with federal partners just to make sure everything goes smoothly. Fortunately, though, they haven't had too many delays yet. Now, for example, today there's only 8 delays anticipated, according to FlightAware, and that kind of makes MSP feel like it's in a little bit of a bubble. And at this point, it feels like MEA weekend may be over before the shutdown. We're at the 2-week mark today, and lawmakers are expected to continue negotiations on reopening the government. The expiration of Affordable Care Act subsidies is a big sticking point, with Democrats wanting to preserve them and Republicans saying that's too expensive.
They will lose their health care or go into medical bankruptcy. That is not acceptable.
We're barreling toward one of the longest shutdowns in American history unless Democrats drop their partisan demand.
Yeah, some dire words there from the Speaker of the House. Now, the longest shutdown on record was 35 days. If this one barrels past that and sets a new record, we'll be into the first week of November. And then at that point, we're going to be brushing up against the Thanksgiving travel season, with MEA weekend being long in the past. Back to you.
Audrey, thank you very much. Taking a live look at the markets where things are a bit mixed this morning. This is just hours after new tariffs on imported lumber and wood products went into effect. Those tariffs range from 10 to 25% on items like wood furniture and kitchen cabinets. Although Canada will likely take the biggest hit, industry analysts warn the tariffs could raise housing prices and furniture costs. That prediction aligning with new numbers suggesting American consumers are carrying the brunt of the costs. A new analysis from Goldman Sachs says consumers are directly paying more than 55% of the costs. And when new tariffs on goods from China kick in next month, that percentage could be even higher. The report says American businesses are shouldering about 22%, and foreign exporters are taking on about 18% of the cost. This morning, President Trump is back at the White House after a signing ceremony among mediators of the Gaza peace plan he and his administration brokered. Though the two parties at war, Israel and Hamas, were notably absent from that ceremony. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest details from Washington.
Hi there. President Trump, who brokered that truce between bitter enemies, has said more than once now that the war in Gaza is over. But with the hostages returned, the focus shifts to serious questions about ensuring a ceasefire becomes a lasting peace. This morning, as President Trump returns to the White House from a Middle East trip that sought to cement peace in Gaza.
Historic day, to put it mildly.
The final 20 living Israeli hostages are waking up at home for the first time in 2 years. Joyful family reunions nourishing a nation hollowed out by their long and painful absence. Images of Hamas terrorists abducting Noah Argamani as her boyfriend, Avinatan Or, was also dragged away, were among the most searing from the October 7th attacks. Noah was rescued last year. Avinatan leaping into her arms upon his release. While in Gaza, nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners also released through the peace deal, all returning to a war-ravaged territory. President Trump joined 20 other heads of state for a peace summit in Egypt, seeking long-term solutions.
We're going to have a lot of money coming into Gaza and a lot of rebuilding and building.
The president thanking neighboring Arab states for committing to helping rebuild.
I met with many of the people in this room, and it all just started coming together.
Though so far, Israel and Hamas have agreed to just phase 1 of President Trump's 20-point peace plan, with looming questions about Hamas disarming and leaving power, and who will govern Gaza through an uncertain future. Another outstanding question, the return of the remains of deceased hostages, with only 4 of 28 believed to be held by Hamas returned on Monday. Long term, when asked about Palestinian statehood, the two-state solution, President Trump said the focus right now is on rebuilding Gaza. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Well, several parents took the opportunity to voice their frustrations to the White Bear Lake School Board at their first meeting since announcing the district said a 22-year-old fraudulently enrolled at White Bear Lake High School and posed as an 18-year-old. Last night's meeting began with board member Daniel Scarr making a motion to publicly address the district's actions over the past 2 weeks, including mitigation efforts concerning student safety and the enrollment process. But no other members voted in favor. The only mention of this case came during the meeting's public comments. One parent said her son stayed away from Kelvin Lubke because of some of the things he said.
How did you do your due diligence when this guy was able to prey on your students? He was just like, I'm just disgusted. All he talked about was sex and things like that, and he was disgusted.
The district declined our request for an interview, but the superintendent responded at the meeting saying the district has carefully reviewed its enrollment procedures. This morning, the Minnesota BCA is making changes after dozens of data errors were discovered with breathalyzer machines in the state. According to the BCA superintendent, the issue stems from the canisters that handle the control group for the tests, which help determine a driver's blood alcohol level. There are 220 machines across the state with about 4,500 people trained to use them. So moving forward here, the BCA says it's reducing the number of people entering that data after finding human error likely played a role here. Well, today, opening statements begin in the retrial of the man accused of plotting the murder of Minneapolis realtor Monique Bao. The 28-year-old mother of 2 was shot and killed on New Year's Eve 2019 after prosecutors say she was lured to a fake home showing. Michelle Beck joins us now to explain what brought this case back to court.
Yeah, hey there. The case for a retrial stems from the instructions the judge gave the jury in the first trial when it comes to aiding and abetting. Now, aiding and abetting matters because that's what Lyndon Wiggins was convicted of 3 years ago related to premeditated first-degree murder, kidnapping, and other charges. But now the 40-year-old is getting a new trial. The Minnesota Supreme Court stepped in saying the judge's instructions to the jury right before deliberations deviated too far from the standard.
They were not given enough of the law, and that without that would be a very unfair trial to the defendant.
Yeah, prosecutors are expected to use the very same evidence when it comes to this retrial, but the prosecutors and the judge will need to make it clear what exactly it means to aid and abet first-degree murder. Back to you.
Michelle, thank you. There is a new leader this morning heading the only agency dedicated to the state's missing and murdered Native people. Guadalupe Lopez heads up the agency and spoke to us yesterday on Indigenous Peoples Day. The longtime advocate says Minnesota's Missing and Murdered Relatives Office has 26 open cases, although last year state data shows 700 Indigenous people were reported missing. The group is handing out search kits and started a new tip line with a historic reward fund.
That's what this office is trying to achieve, is making sure that every case gets its time with public awareness around it.
Lopez is a Leech Lake band member and says she plans to meet directly with every impacted family. This week, the Minnesota State Fire Marshal's office is launching a new campaign aimed at preventing carbon monoxide poisoning. They're giving out more than 2,000 CO alarms to 8 Minnesota communities to help detect what's often called the silent killer. Those cities include Bemidji, Brainerd, and Willmar. The fire marshal says they are among the communities that have populations at a higher risk of carbon monoxide exposure.
Because you can't see it, smell it, or taste it, carbon monoxide can build up to toxic and dangerous levels in your home or in any structure without someone realizing, and by then it might be too late.
So firefighters will install the new alarms in homes for free, all of it funded through a federal grant. A big blow to Minneapolis this morning. The downtown council says it will no longer produce 2 of the city's most beloved traditions. We're talking about Holidazzle and the Aquatennial. The council says this decision is due to inconsistent funding and its own shifting priorities. In recent years, the Downtown Council has both produced and promoted the two long-running events. The council is looking to hand it off to someone else so it can focus on downtown safety and other priorities. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.